Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Academic Plenary for 2021. I want to thank those of you that were able to hang around and join us, and say hi to everybody who is joining us online. I just had a question. What is a plenary, the word? So let me just take a moment and address that. In any kind of larger gathering, a plenary is one where everybody is attending. So this is a session for all academics and other interested parties as well. So welcome, and I appreciate your time. As we get going today, there are three groups that I want to extend a special welcome and introduction to, and I'll start by saying, first of all, I am really thrilled that we are all connected and as instructional programs together under one tent right now as we enter this year. I deeply value our colleagues in adult education and ESOL, career certificates, FSCJ online, and at the Senior Academic Leadership Team, or SALT, to have Dr. Chakraborty, Dr. Gibson, Dr. Mixon at the table. We already see the value of that coming together. So I want to welcome you all to Academic Plenary, and looking forward to all of us doing some great things this term. Second, I just want to say again to our award winners who recognized during convocation, so proud to work with you, such inspiring work and colleagues, and thank you for all that you do. And then third, to our new faculty, it was a real pleasure to meet you, spend some time with you yesterday at the new faculty orientation, and I just want to reiterate, you all have landed in a really good place at FSCJ, and we're counting on you to do some great things, so welcome. Really fortunate at this time. We're going to have an introduction from our college president, Dr. John Avendano. I have some great news for you all. Lourdes Norman and he had a very lengthy session this morning, and he has decided to get vaccinated. I'm just kidding. As you know, Dr. Avendano is a big proponent of getting vaccination if it is, unless there's some kind of medical prohibition on that. And I just appreciate the leadership that he has shown on this. There's a lot of gray areas we have to get through, and he's been so engaged in moving forward. And in the area of academics, I want to say I've been here at FSCJ under 5 different leaders, college presidents, 3 since I've been in the role of provost, and he sticks out to me as somebody who has remained engaged in academics, interested in academics, and really supportive very directly of academics. So I know he has a real passion for the work that we do. So Dr. Avendano.
Thank you, Dr. Wall. I guess I'm fair game, right? I guess Professor LaBarbera had some shots at him. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for including me this afternoon as part of the plenary session as well. A couple of things I guess I want to leave you with. One is the idea of excellence, right? Some of you will remember when I gave the convocation address when I first arrived, I talked a little bit about, and many of you know this, the 212 degrees, right? You know, the difference that it makes in just moving the temperature 1 degree and what that's able to do, right? To power a locomotive, the difference between just hot water and steam that can power a locomotive, and it is always thinking about moving the needle in the right direction, in a positive direction. I say that because I had the opportunity. He unfortunately wasn't here this morning, or wasn't able to be here this morning. We have a new trustee, Dr. Andrew Shaw, and I had the opportunity to spend some time with him in the last few days. And so he's a neurosurgeon, okay? And he was very much complimentary of the college and our role in our community. But in my conversation with him, one of the things that he had said, he said, I hope you feel comfortable with this, but in his profession, as a neurosurgeon, he says they're focused as a hospital and as a medical community on constantly looking to improve and do better. And so his question / comment, I don't think it was a threat. I think it was a legitimate interest. He's like, I'm going to keep asking you what the college is doing to get better. All right? So, and I told him I welcome that. I welcome that because we should be doing that all the time anyway. We should always be focused on excellence. And I see Dr. Smith here, and I know I've used him as a past example, so I'm thinking about this now, so I don't mean to embarrass him, but what we're able to do in the dental hygiene program and the clinics there is a level of excellence. It's not a one-time shot. It's a consistent, repeated level of excellence. And I want us to consider doing that in everything that we do. In conversation just briefly a second ago with Dr. Bosey, we love talking baseball and sports analogies, and it's like, who really wants to be mediocre, right? Who's striving just to be so-so? I don't think that's anybody. I don't think that's in our nature. I would hope that's not in our nature. And if it is, then I would think that FSCJ is really not the right place, because the message we've been trying to get across is a constant review and effort towards excellence and our ability to measure that excellence. And please don't take that as a indictment that we're not there now. I know that the effort is there, and I know that we have some pockets of excellence. And what I want us to do is, if we know we can do a little bit better, let's challenge ourselves to do a little bit better. And by all means, challenge me to be a little bit better. So I welcome that challenge as well. So I really do sincerely wish you a fantastic academic year. I know it'll be one that's going to have ups and downs. I get that. We expect that. But we've seen our ability to pivot at a moment's notice and continue to move forward as an institution. I know each and every one of you can continue to do that. So again, I wish you all a fantastic school year. Know that I am here to be of service to you, and I look forward to the things we're going to be able to accomplish. Dr. Wall, thank you. Have a great day.
Dr. A, thank you so much. I noticed with some delight this morning, as the years of service rolled by, that my friend and colleague, Dr. John A. Woodward, has completed 10 years of service. I'm amazed, and he's been faculty senate president for 11 of those 10 years. I got to begin working with Dr. Woodward when he came here at Deerwood. We were both there, and have worked with him and understand his passion for education, his passion for academic freedom, and he has, over the years, about his leadership in Faculty Senate, worked to transform that body into something that's ever more functional, ever more collaborative, and in a way that we can all work together. And I deeply appreciate it. I'd like to ask him to come up and extend his greetings to you for Academic Plenary. John.
Hello, neighbors. So I have a book with me, and I wanted to read you something. Some of you may know the Odyssey a bit, but I thought it was fitting. Just the beginning. Speak, memory of the cunning hero, the wanderer blown off course time and again after he plundered Troy's sacred heights. Speak of all the cities he saw, the mines he grasped, the suffering deep in his heart at sea, as he struggled to survive and bring his men home, but could not save them. Hard as he tried, the fools, destroyed by their own recklessness when they ate the oxen of Hyperion the sun, and that God snuffed out their day of return. So why do I start with that? Well, first of all, welcome back from your long journeys. I hope your summer was fruitful. I hope it was relaxing. And I think in many ways, we are like poor Odysseus here on the beach, stranded instead on our couches and our chairs, hunched over computers rather than being catered to by a goddess. Unless it's my wife, and she catered to me, and she is a goddess. So. Hello, Virginie. I think, too, we are beginning to struggle through sort of an odyssey to get back to normal. I mean, when I went away over the summer, it was over. We left in July to take a small trip, and this thing was done with. We were vaccinated. We were ready to come back and start partying. And I don't know if we took the thing with us or what, but we went to New Orleans, and what do you know? New Orleans becomes a hot spot. We went to Texas, and what do you know? Texas becomes a hot spot. That was inevitable, I think. And then we come back here, and Duval County is now where it is. So I think that it's been surprising to many of us. And I think now the most worrying thing is that all the children who are under 12 and unable to be vaccinated, they're back in school, they're back around the pandemic, and we know how that is playing out. So And there's a reason for me to mention that. And as well, we know too that the hospitals are getting filled, and that means that if you have other emergencies, then you may not be able to be seen, and that could affect your outcomes as well. And there's actually some studies going into that right now to see how many people we're losing because they're choosing not to go to the hospital when they're feeling chest pains, et cetera. So I want to talk a couple of things about Senate here. We have two committees, rigor and academic honesty, and I know I've mentioned them in the past, and I want to come back to them, especially after the year of the pandemic and some of the things that we went through, and some of the things that we changed, and some of the things that we tried to address. There are disciplines that we have that have a mandate to record attendance. Not much we can do with that. There are disciplines as well that we have at the college that expect attendance as a degree of whether the student's going to be successful or not. And we in Senate, we're very aware that these exist. Obviously, we have faculty from many of these programs, but by the same extension, because of the pandemic, because of this strange world that we're in, we would like to encourage you to consider being somewhat flexible when it comes to attendance, when it comes to illness of students and family members. After all, family members in the household can get sick. My daughter is back in school. She's under 12. It's inevitable this semester I'm not going to be able to show up to class. Not because I'm necessarily ill, but because she may have been exposed. And that means that I need to quarantine so that I don't come in and bring it to my students. This is going to be for those of us who are teaching face-to-face, this is going to be even a stranger year, I think, in many ways than it was last time because of this attempt to get back, an attempt that I support 100% to get back here on campus, back into the classroom. I know it's better for my students, but then to be able to manage all of these potential outcomes. So we encourage you to work with your students as best you can. And we're also very encouraged, I was very encouraged to hear about the partnership with Single Stop. I think that's going to help a lot of our students. And I think that while that not necessarily is oriented towards the pandemic, we should think through that mindset for helping our students get through this semester. So where it comes to academic honesty, this is going to be a bit of a topic of conversation in Senate this year, specifically where it comes to, and I'm sorry if I'm taking all of your time, specifically where it comes to online proctoring. Online proctoring saved a lot of us, saved a lot of our students, saved a lot of our programs last semester for sure, last year for sure. But what popped up for us and other institutions were some really sticky ethical questions ranging from privacy all the way to whether AI should be doing what it is that it's doing with us and our students. So Senate is not at the point where it's saying stop doing online proctoring, but it is a topic of conversation, and we would like for you to think about, to kind of look into some of those ethical concerns and weigh them as best you can, and to make it a topic of conversation with your colleagues. That's also something we strongly encourage. Talk to your colleagues who are teaching in the same area or in teaching in similar areas and see what it is that they're doing. See if they have come up with strategies to figure out how do we avoid cheating. We need to get the students to know what they're supposed to know. We can't have them cheating on exams. But are there other ways of getting that information into their heads and extracting it, getting them to repeat it back to us without necessarily using too much, maybe, online proctoring? Just a topic of conversation we'd like for you to engage in to some extent. So, share your experiences with colleagues. That's what Dr. Bowman was talking about in relationship to the guided pathways. Is that what it's called? Definitely a project that we should start working on this year. We want to work on it in Senate. We would like for all of you to work on it. Figure out how we can, maybe not even face-to-face because we may not be able to have those meetings like we did in the past, but connect with our colleagues, see where they're finding successes, see where they're struggling, and collectively try to help everyone get to where we need to be. And, of course, academic freedom. I'm sure you all saw the email this morning, and you may have been following this already. This was a curious year for our Tallahassee people. I'm from Tallahassee, so I can say that they're crazy. I was born in Tallahassee. So I can definitely say we're crazy. Most of those people are not from Tallahassee, but moving along, we have academic freedom. We have academic freedom. There are Supreme Court cases that say that we have academic freedom. You are free in the classroom to teach your material. You are free to teach it as you wish. You are free, certainly, to connect with your colleagues to see what is appropriate, what's inappropriate. All of that is part of the academic conversation, and you are given freedom to do that. Right now, the issue is students being able to record us in class, and I know that that is probably something you may have questions about. That is now law that anyone, I think it specifically says students though, can record you in your class without your permission. This is a law that is being challenged. It doesn't fit with another law that says that we can't, Florida citizens can't be recorded against their permission. So there's some places to go with that, but it's the law now. Students can record you. You cannot tell them that they can't record you. Your classroom, however, should be disruption-free, and we encourage you to think about managing those, again, this is all about management, managing those situations as best you can, remembering that students now have a right to record you in classroom settings, not outside of classroom, but in classroom settings, and deal with it as best you can. The law, I also wanted to point out, explicitly forbids the dissemination of this material. If they record you, they cannot disseminate that. That's against the law. It specifically says that, and so it is criminal if they do disseminate it, unless outside of certain narrow situations. So what I would encourage you to do is to make a note if you do see a student who's recording, just for your own sake, so that if that material is published on a cheating website or whatever it is, that you personally have some recourse. It's a horrible thing to have to say to you. I'm not telling you to, and I don't encourage you to start, keeping track of students and what they're doing. It is something for you, unfortunately, to have to kind of think a little bit about. So just to talk a bit about that. Now, the largest part of our mission is to educate, obviously, inside the classroom, outside of the classroom. We are leaders in our classrooms, on our campuses, and in our communities, and we should lead by example, which means we all strongly encourage you to wear your masks as much as possible. It's an expectation, and we encourage you to tell your students, remind them again and again, this is an expectation that we wear masks on campus. Using that language, it is an expectation. We should also engage in rational discourse and the search for truth. I mean, that's part of our ethical responsibility, and that means giving students access to accurate material, teaching them on some level how to understand what is inaccurate data, inaccurate material. I mean, that's why we're here. That's what we need to engage with. And I think that should happen in the classroom, but I'm encouraging you to work with me, work with Senate, work with your deans and your colleagues to make that a conversation outside of the classroom as well, by giving events. Maybe it's online events, maybe it's a face-to-face event, that engage in those topics of conversation about the data that we have. Maybe it's not about the pandemic, maybe it's just about how to think through and understand information that they may be reading, they may be hearing, how to measure, how to understand what data means, all of those kinds of fun topics of conversation. And maybe even some of the deeper, stickier issues about, pandemics and how to manage a pandemic in a democracy, which I think is one of the most fascinating questions we have that's arisen in front of us right now. So it is also important to remember that laws are not universal. Natural laws are real, though, and I can't jump off the stage and not fall. There's a reality here that is inevitable, and our laws, our human laws, we make. The laws of nature, we don't. We play by those rules. We can't change those. So I think that should also be a part of our conversation, a part of the way we think. And that means also that I think we should, me personally, I'm going to encourage everyone to get vaccinated. I'm going to encourage my students to get vaccinated. I ask you to encourage your students to get vaccinated. Even if maybe that's not your own personal belief, I would still advocate that you should encourage students to at least think about getting vaccinated. And I'm told that we're going to have vaccination spots here on a couple of campuses. I would encourage you to give them some time to go get the vaccine, work with them if they have a reaction that keeps them out for a week. Especially if we think that students of our demographic may not have access to vaccines. Now, it was in March when I got my vaccine, but it took me almost a day to figure out how I was even supposed to get it, where I was supposed to go. I had to be able to get there. I had to be able to get there at a specific time. Our students work. Our students may not have transportation. They may not be able to get to vaccination spots. And if we have a vaccination spot close to them and they haven't been vaccinated and they express even the slightest interest, I strongly encourage you, and I think Senate backs me up, strongly encourages you, give them a chance to go get vaccinated. Walk with them if you feel that that's appropriate as well. Finally, I want to say that, Chairman, it's too bad I wasn't here to say congratulations. Congratulations to Mike Bell for being chairman. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And his conversation about the community this morning, I think, was very well placed. We are part of the community. We are the community's college. We are leaders in the community, and we prepare our students to be a part of the community, to integrate with the community. I would also encourage all of us to take a little bit of an extra step maybe this year, and that is to intentionally get out into the community and shop the college as best we can. We have just an amazing resource here for students. And, you know, enrollment is enrollment, but I think to some extent many of our students aren't really aware of how valuable we are. Many of the people in the community aren't really aware of how valuable we are. And I think that we as faculty, we have a place to go into the community and let everyone know we are a valuable resource and we're affordable for their students. So thank you for your time. My apologies again for taking an outrageous amount of time today, but have a good semester. And I look forward to seeing all of you face to face at some point. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Dr. Woodward. Just a couple of things I would like to do nuts and bolts style before we get to kind of the more thematic elements today. And the first of those has to do with COVID protocols. I'll follow this up with an email before we start classes. But as more people come back to teaching and learning on campus, one of the things I want to point out to you is that even when we were through the first waves, semester by semester, we have been teaching on campus throughout. So we have a number of our career and technical education programs that you can only do them if you're doing hands-on work and collect them face-to-face. So we have a lot of skill, and we've learned a whole lot around that. And some of that has to do with what is it that we do to manage situations where a student in a class contracts COVID. If you are not familiar with it, the college has a COVID webpage, and there's also a return to campus plan that provides a lot of details on these issues for sure. The thing that I would like to point out right now, kind of the most direct thing to do outside of masking, encouraging, not requiring, that's the wrong word, expecting your students to mask, is to be aware that there is a form to report if you, whoever you are, a student, faculty, staff member, anybody in the FSCJ community contracts COVID, there is a form for reporting that. That is a critical part of the process that I would like you to be aware of and encourage people to do, because it gets to the next link in the chain, which is contact tracing. So if somebody does contract COVID, test positive, if they fill out that form, we've engaged with an outside company that does a thorough contact tracing around, notifies who knows to be notified, and then we now have feedback about how big was the contact trace, and then we watch that class and see what's happening. In cases if it's an infection, a second infection, we don't panic. We're going to ask the faculty member, please continue with your class, students continue with your class, and we're going to watch and we're going to monitor. From there, if we had a situation where things go rampant in a class, or we had a situation last year where we had to step back and switch over, we would make the decision to do that, but it's not just a classroom-based decision. So I'll get some of those protocols out to you, but I just want you to be aware that there are a lot of systems in place, and I want to encourage you to be familiar with them. So that email is not going to provide really new information, but I hope for it to consolidate the information that is available to you. Second thing regarding office hours, you've hopefully seen an email from me regarding that, and I'll just touch on it briefly. CBA specifies a number of office hours. 10 is kind of the base, but if you have a heavier number of workload units, of course, it adapts from there. You know that up to half of them can be virtual, and the format of those virtual office hours is not specified. You should be available in that window, but maybe students are emailing you and you're responding back. Then when it comes to the other half of your office hours that we have had as on-campus office hours, broadening that, they need to be synchronous. Synchronous could be, we're here together, same time and space. Synchronous could be live online. We're not in the same space, but we're together virtually in the same. So it's that conversational aspect that we are looking to have. So if you have any questions on that, please consult that email and/or your supervisor. And if we don't have it clear by then, let me know, and we'll work to get it clear. Dr. Woodward talked a little bit about assessments, and we didn't have any pre-coordination on what we were covering, but I am also aware that that's something on people's minds. So at this point, I'd like to ask Dr. Rich Turner to come up, who I thought did a great job today in walking through my grad plan. You are going to hear a lot more about that, but for now, we're going to put him to work just updating us on where we are with doing assessment in your classes, not course assessments, of course, but exams, etc. Rich?
Thank you, Dr. Wool. Is this mic on? Oh, perfect, thank you. So good afternoon, colleagues. Just really to give you kind of an update of where we are in assessment center operations on ground, online, as well as Dr. Woodward, I do appreciate your comments in reference to remote testing. Again, that is part of the email that will go out tomorrow, reminding faculty about that AFPD that was developed, outlining other methods to assess that the students have acquired the expected knowledge. But let's start out with our assessment center operations on ground. We are open 5 days a week from 9 till 5, Monday through Friday. So every center open every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Equally, we're still supporting remote testing online, all of our centers, and that's 9 to 8, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So students are able to take a PERT, a TABE, numerous exams with us remotely 7 days a week. So on ground 5 days a week, remote 7 days a week. And I'll answer any questions about that. Now to pivot quickly to online testing and testing your online students. We will continue as we have for the last 3 terms with both options available to you. That's Smarter Services, Automated Proctor, and then equally ProctorU's Review Plus. And again, the Automated Proctor is a fully automated solution. John talked about that. The AI marks potential cheating instances on the video, but it does require you to review that as a faculty member. In the case of ProctorU Review Plus, there is a ProctorU proctor who's reviewing that video and indicating to you that via what they post with the video when it goes into Canvas, that they believe there was some type of misconduct and what time it occurred. And just so you know, we are right now this term proctoring 2 additional services. One is Proctor 360's automated proctor, which would be administered and ran by our own FSCJ proctors. So imagine a ProctorU-like environment, but on the other side is not a ProctorU proctor, it's an FSCJ proctor. And it would be an FSCJ proctor that would be informing you if they detected misconduct. We're also doing that with Smarter Services, what they call a hybrid proctor. Almost the exact same system, just a different vendor. So just know that we have the 2 standard services available for you this term, and equally we are testing a more robust service provided by 2 different vendors that would use our own proctors to proctor your exams in the online setting. And so John, I'll pause. Okay. Thank you, colleagues.
Rich, thank you so much. And of course, you all know, any questions at all, please do reach out either to his testing center or to academic operations, and we will take care of you there. All right. I'm going to share some comments with you, and then we're going to do a little bit of extension on some other information you need to have this term that's going to connect to those comments a little bit. And I'm going to start by saying that the fundamentals in academics are still the same. I believe that we have to have a vibrant academic culture. And the reason I believe that is that teaching is hard work. It is so hard. And you're pulled in a lot of different directions. And we have to make sure when you're in this game professionally that we're feeding you as well. So to me, an academic academy of any type, it has to pop with something that is unique and special to academics. The world of ideas, the world of art and performance, the world of learning and progression. And most all of us have gotten into this field because there's at least some part of us that relies on that needs it. And so I want us to have a vibrant academic culture because I believe that's an atmosphere that we thrive in, and if we thrive, our students thrive. Another fundamental that's still the same. Let's have a bias towards yes and how. If it's a good idea, if we'd like to do it, then let's say yes and let's figure out how we can. We recognize there are fences, but we want to set those fences wide and work inside of them. The fundamentals are still the same. And lastly, and I'll say a few more things about this in a minute, rigor and rapport, that's it. We got to teach to that level, but at the same time, there's a special call, I wish in teaching in general. I think at community colleges, state colleges, I know for sure it's the call at FSCJ, because I'm giving it to you. We have to have rapport. That connects to that notion of belonging that Lisa Moore was talking about this morning. You know, to make that relationship with that student so that they feel comfortable or that you feel comfortable interacting back and forth about what's going on in the class and then the other things right around that might be affecting how a student is doing in a class. So with those fundamentals remaining the same, I want to talk today about what I'm calling the excellence option. Although the word academics hasn't appeared anywhere in our mission, vision, core values. We do talk about excellence in teaching and learning, though. Excellence in academics is something that is woven into our fabric. But I want to start us off today with a contention that if you look globally, holistically, at what we are achieving in academics at FSCJ, we have not yet achieved a pervasive excellence. We are not there. I want to talk about that a little bit today and talk about what are we going to do about that. And it's the excellence option. Not only did I not coordinate my talk with Dr. Woodward, I didn't coordinate it with Dr. Avendano either. So he knows excellence was on the menu, and you can see, as he said, you know, everybody rowing in the same direction. The messaging you're seeing is pointing in that same direction. Although we don't have, I don't believe yet, that global, holistic, pervasive excellence in academics, we've got it in a lot of different spots. We even have a phrase we use here with it, and Dr. A used it when he was talking to us. We have pockets of excellence. So please do not hear me wrong. Please do not hear me wrong. There's excellence among individuals, there's excellence among programs, there are all kinds of places that there is excellence. But when you zoom out, my contention, and you look globally and overall, we're not there yet. So here's a few of them. TEDx FSCJ, high impact, involve students in the planning production. I want to share with the academic community that Dr. Paul Hendrickson and Dr. Lourdes Norman, who have led this so ably for the past few years, have gotten to the point where they're ready to move on and do the next thing. They've had a good experience with it, they want to take their energy and they want to do that next thing. So we're going to evaluate TEDx FSCJ with you all and say, what do we want to do as that excellent programming? Continue with this because we put a lot of support into it, or is there something else we need to look and achieve? So we're going to take a year to look at that. Dr. A mentioned dental hygiene, and there are other programs out there as well. Pushing. 10 years, 100% pass rate. The faculty and leadership at Dental Hygiene, there's excellence there. We got to talk to them and see what they're doing. We're starting to talk about guided pathways. The backbone of guided pathways are academic roadmaps that say, what should a student be taking? And we heard a little bit about that today. Dr. Kathleen Seesvold led an initiative in which over 200 people, mainly faculty, are giving feedback. If this is the transfer major, this is what they should be taking. If this is the AS program, this is the order that they should be taking it. That is a sense of comprehensive progress that moves us forward. Guided pathways, by the way, you're going to hear a little bit more about it later today, is not just about having a roadmap so students know what class to take in what order. That's a pathway. The guided pathway is the walking with the student. That's the guiding. We don't just want to lay out the stones that they step to step to step. We're going to guide them, walk with them, wrap ideas, support around them, and go with them. But getting those roadmaps done, and I thank every one of you who participated in that, that's a big lift, and we got it done. It's excellent work. And the place where we engage in our students, I talk about FSCJ all the time when I'm out. What do you do? I work at FSCJ. People have had such positive experiences. If we get to do, and I think we might even be thinking about doing a slimmed down version, we want to have a regular convocation again, but if we get to do this drive-up convocation, please come. It was a hoot. And people had such positive things to say as they drove by. Their parents did, the students did, and it was that level of service that we get that gave people a wow. There's some excellence right there as well. But let's get out of those things and get back to the point that I want to make about where are we in terms of that holistic, collective, pervasive excellence. You see right here our graduation rate by 150% and 200% of time of degree completion. So here's how that goes. If a student enters a 2-year program, their 150% completion rate is how many people have graduated in 3 years. 2 years is 100%, add another 50%, that's the 3rd year. The 200% graduation rate is 4 years. 100% is 2 years, double that, 4 years for 200%. Read those lines from left to right. They do not move. They don't move. And they go up a little bit when we get from 150 to 200, but they're kind of in the same neighborhood. Don't misunderstand me. There's all kinds of excellent work happening here. But at a holistic level, we've got some things that we need to tackle. We are beginning to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. How about those student outcomes? So here, if I take that 200% graduation rate, and now I break it out by students according to different racial groups, we can see very clearly that the outcomes are not the same across those groups. We're not moving them all the same. And here's another part about that. When they're changing, do they change at the same rate for everybody? A rising boat is great, but if one group of students raises 5% and another group raises 1%, everybody's going up, but there's a difference there, and it's something that I'm going to suggest we ought to be looking at more closely. Here's persistence in terms of students coming back from a fall to a spring. 69, 68. We're right there. We're at the national average. It's okay. Could we get to 80? I don't know. Could we get to 85? I don't know. But I have a bias towards yes. Fall to fall, you're going to see those numbers drop. And I hope you begin to see the point that I'm trying to make. At a holistic, pervasive level, we have not yet achieved academic excellence. So my question is, how do we move from pockets of excellence, and those pockets may be programs, they may be individuals, how do we move from pockets of excellence to excellence, period? Before I get into that, let me take just a moment to do a caveat. What about rigor? Early in my tenure here as a faculty member, I had a conversation with my dean, We were talking about pass rates. And I said to my dean, you know, if you want to give me a number, I can put them anywhere you want. You want 85% to pass? I can do that. If you're okay with 6, I can do that. The trick with rigor is that we know we want those high standards. I want to continue to assure you there is not pressure to get pass rates by lowering rigor. There is not. And I hope that you all will carry that message and talk to one another because, and I am so grateful for the candor, I still have faculty who will talk to me and say, you know what, because I talked to somebody, whatever, and they're worried about what will happen with their pass rates. They're worried about it's not about just getting to pass rates. But what if we could set a level of rigor that we understood what it meant to get to that level? Like a wall you got to climb over. It could be 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. If we could understand where we're setting that wall, and then, despite however high we set it, then we get to work about helping students climb that wall. So keep rigor, but then understand the challenge. The challenge is to say, with all of that rigor, now I got to get after you as an effective teacher and catalyze, unlock your learning, your practice, your time, your energy so that you will get to that standard. So a caveat about rigor. I don't want to achieve excellence just because the numbers look good and the learning isn't happening. That is not a trade-off. It's not a trade-off I want to go to bed with at night thinking I'm any part of. Back to the main question. How do we go from pockets of excellence to excellence, period? The answer, some of you will already know, lies in Team USA basketball, the 2020 Olympics. I'm not a big basketball guy. I know the big names. I followed a little bit with the Olympics. First round game this year for the 2020 Olympics in 2021. I love COVID. Team USA lost to France. And the basketball world lost its mind a little bit. What are these guys doing? This is Team USA. What is happening? They lost their luster and on and on and on. The team got a little bit testy about it. Their coach, Coach Popovich, who's very well revered and respected, etc., he made the following point. You know, these guys are all superstars, but they don't play together. So if I got a bunch of superstars, it's not like I can just roll the ball out on the court and we're going to beat everybody. And what's interesting, he didn't say, but the reality is the rest of the world is getting better. In other words, it's getting harder to do. It's getting harder to do stuff in education. I get it. We cannot just roll the ball out on the floor and get there. And so the point was, and the players echoed this, we need some time to gel as a team. We need to be in communication. We need to get that rhythm. We've got to put it all together. We're all individually superstars, but if we're not working on a team, it's not working right. So you can see where I want to go with this. A couple things that could keep us from getting to the academic excellence that we're after. First of all, when you look at the higher ed landscape, our overall performance is okay. Mid-30s, upper 30s, 150, 200%. You know, it's kind of like if the Titanic is sinking, higher ed, we know about the crisis in higher ed. It's kind of like if the Titanic is sinking, we're saying, you know, we're not on the back end of the boat that's going down first. We're further up the boat, so relative to other places, we're doing okay. But in absolute terms, can we do better than the mid-30%? I have a bias towards yes, and I hope that you do too. The truth of the matter is that we can maintain our current standards and what we are achieving at this level without having that comprehensive team approach. Because I don't think we've achieved that comprehensive team approach globally, holistically, pervasively. We got it in the pockets, we don't have it across the institution. And if we don't have it, we can get away with the standards we're setting right now. We tend not to fully adopt comparable standards that promote consistent, high-quality work. This is a conversation that happens mostly in hallways right now, at least for me. There are places where I think we can have good confidence. Pocket of excellence, Dev Ed. We're on the same curriculum. We've got a common way that we're looking at students to pass out so we know what they're achieving or not. English for speakers of other languages. We have these set tests. Did they get their literacy completion point? We know. We have an outcome. It's a comparable, measurable standard. Where are they? What did they achieve? My discipline, psychology, Psych 1012. No, we don't. We have a course outline. It has objectives. You put it in your syllabus. And if I get an outcome, if I have a section over here and a section over there and a section over there, and 3 students get Bs, is that comparable? We have no idea. And we know we don't have any idea. And we can keep getting the outcomes we're getting if we keep doing it that way. But if we'll build some of those comparable standards in, we could start to work on this, bringing everybody together as a team. And then lastly, I hate to say it, we have some cultural norms that allow us to get away with it. Every academic plenary since I've been in this position at FSCJ, I have emphasized the cultural aspects of being an academic. Because as an institution, that's where we have been. Too much unclear change, not enough stability, genuine places where people felt disaffected, fair critiques, absolutely all of them. We will always have things to work on, but we got that stuff going clearly in the right direction. 2 years with Dr. A, it's happening. If you don't know that it's happening, you're not paying attention. So today you get a little different tone from me. I still care just as much about culture. I still want to cheerlead. I still want to say yes, but now I got to start to focus on, hey, now let's get about our business of pursuing that excellence. That's going to require some changes. And think about this. What is it that brings change to us in academics? What is it that brings change to us? Florida college system brings change. Here's some new rules. Woo, SACs. They bring change. We're getting ready to launch our cohort running up over the next few years to reaccreditation. I got my marching order from Dr. Dumichel. Make sure you go check everybody's credentials because, the spring 22 file, that's the one we got to send. And if you got somebody teaching and they're not credentialed, oh yeah, we're in action. We're in action because somebody outside told us you better get in action and you better get after it. And the third thing, and they show up on my slide, so I don't know what has happened here. The Florida legislature. So there you have it. The Florida legislature was so busy this year, that you're going to hear about some updates at this very plenary in just a few minutes because I got to make sure that you know what's going on. There's a lot. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to set it out there and we are going to jump into action. Those are the things that bring action. Now, holistically, reliably. Am I saying those are the only 3 things that bring action? Absolutely not. Where you find pockets of excellence, you find people moving for things outside of those external things that are pushing them. So please don't get it wrong. They're excellent programs. They're excellent individuals. There's all kinds of pockets of excellence. Holistically, pervasively, what moves the institution reliably? These external forces. Take a look at the piece that I wrote underneath. Action to meet standards and objectives. Those people set it out, we take action to meet some objectives and standards. Watch the change. Before you read the top, read the bottom. Those same words, actions to meet standards and objectives, are going to appear again, but they're going to be couched a little bit differently. What should be catalyzing change for us? It's because I'm on the wrong button. It's not Team USA, I promise. What should be catalyzing change for us is collective action. And it is collective action that we believe will move us to meet measurable standards and desired objectives. Collective, that we believe. There's a lot I don't like about what the state is doing. I don't like legislating curriculum, but there's a few things, I'll be honest. They're doing it because the colleges ain't. There's a few of them that are out there. They're doing it because the colleges are not doing it. And they're looking and they see it. So we need that collective action, and it has to be about things that we believe in. What do we believe we should be doing? Where do we really believe we should be going? What are the activities we should be undertaking to bring that change about? Because if we believe it, we'll be invested in doing it. They need to meet desired outcomes and objectives. Again, we need to really believe it. So we talk about all the passion that we have in our students, etc. And I believe it. I believe it. I believe that it lives in each of us as individuals. But if we're not working collectively as a team, we cannot get out the backside. What is it that we have passion about collectively? That's the thing that's going to move us all, and that's some of what we need to start to tackle. So of course, students, not just students, right? I don't mean ask the students what they think all the gen ed outcomes should be. I'm not that naive. But those students live in our community, in our state, in our country, in our world. They're in an environment with employers, right? Other expectations, complex political issues that are going on. We need to be looking at things and saying, in that environment, what do they need? We're undertaking general education review this year. The last review we did was a little bit of a breather. Kind of clean some things up, move some things around. Gen ed philosophy. Let's talk about gen ed philosophy this year when we review. What do students in 2025 need? Let's start thinking about that. Have those collective conversations. There's tons of hope. I'm sharing with you right here 4 things, and there's a 5th one, that are areas where I think, although we're not there yet, we have got a pathway to get to that collective, pervasive excellence. Because these are things that don't just go to the pockets of excellence, they have the potential, if we all come together as a team, they have the potential, if we all get our oars in the water, to really bring that institutional change. First up, those of you that are in baccalaureate career and technical education, you know about the business and industry leadership teams. It's something that we've brought here. It's about deeper engagement with employers, that they are the ones that drive what we should change. Do we have the right people on those committees? When we talk about students, are we talking to our built members about those internship experiences? They tell us how badly students need them. They tell us how badly students need them. Do we turn around and say, I need you to help take on interns so we can work it? It has the potential to really change what we're doing, but not unless we pursue it at a very high level and very, very collectively. Some of you may have heard of the IBEST program. I'm going to give you the 30-second overview of this. IBEST is a model where you have students who are still completing their adult education. And we could do this linearly and say, we're going to get you all up to speed with adult education. Then once you're done with that, we're going to hook on the next train car, and we're going to give you some kind of learning in a career skill. What the IBEST model says is, wait a minute. You're teaching them these adult education skills. That's distinct from the career skills, but can inform them. What if we put them together and do them at the same time? It's a national model. We have it here at FSCJ. We've been very successful with it, especially in adult ed and the programs it has collaborated with. Could we find collaborations among different disciplines that build off of this model? Could we join ENC 1101, ENC 1102 with some other discipline? That's a lot of work. One person's got their syllabus, the other person has their syllabus. That's a lot of work. I'm not saying that's what the answer to this is. That's some of the thinking that I would like us to do. You're going to hear more this year about our first year experience. It has been revamped. Many of you know it as SLS, 1101, 1103, 0005? Not anymore. IDS, 1107. But more than that, it's not just a class, it is a first-year experience where we are looking to work with students and come and bring them along, guided pathways style, and embrace them with resources, build that rapport, and carry them forward. Just last week, Dr. Newhart shared data with me about the students, even though it's a requirement, so a little quasi-experiment here, not everybody can get into an IDS 1107, so we give them a little extra time. Then we look at how they do that first term. Guess what? Those students who are in the first year experience, they are performing better. Not like by a little bit, by a lot. We're going to talk more about that later on this year. So these are all places that can leverage we can get to that collective sort of excellence. And then the Academy for Teaching and Learning, I mean, I think we all know, a great, great resource. Can we get organized and leverage that moving forward? So here's the excellence option. It's an option because we have to choose it. We can keep on getting the outcomes we have if we keep on doing the same thing. We have to choose it. First, we need to lead for excellence. Let me start with myself and talk about hallway conversations. You faculty, you administrators, you know who you are. I will not name names, but you have come to me and said some version of this. And there's one particular faculty conversation that sticks out to me. John, it's really good to tell us to go do this rigor, but unless you insist upon it, unless you push it, unless you give it structure, it is not just going to happen. And they're right. I have underserved you in this area, but we start the conversation this year. So I'm going to follow up on a number of things throughout the year to get those conversations about opting for excellence. Where can we do that collective work together and commit to it? And some of them, they're the conversations that are not necessarily easy to have. But I understand. And part of the conversation goes like this. Why am I going to stick my head up and I'm going to be the person who's pursuing all this excellence if everybody else is not moving along? You know, you want me just to inspire them into it? So the critique comes to me. Set the tone, set the expectation, set the structure. I owe that to you. So we're going to start with that. This isn't about you guys, go do better. This is about, I think, all of us, including me, can do better. And if you're a leader at the college, I want you to join me in that. Second, we need to reflect on and talk about excellence. Seriously. I've got a theme here, and I think the theme is on target, but I don't know all the nuances and the ways that it plays out. You all do, though. So I'd ask you to reflect on that. What do you see? What are those issues? Where are those gaps where, gosh, if we could get collective, it would be better? And then we all need to take a look in the mirror and say, where am I with this? Am I working on it? And remember, it's not just about getting your own individual excellence going. If we're not working collectively in disciplines to have these conversations, we're not going to get there. Third, we have to increase collective action, and it's just optional. Now, I'm going to talk about something that I 50% know, which is more than I know about most things I talk about. I hope. A couple of years ago, I signed a curriculum proposal, and if I have this right, and those of you who teach Anatomy and Physiology 1 will correct me if I have it wrong, please, and I will send out to everybody, I had it wrong, a curriculum proposal that removed a course-wide exam that counted for 10% of the grade for all students who were taking the course. And I paused. Because as a dean, I always thought that was cool. And I'm not saying that I thought it was cool, like, ooh, that's cool. I thought it was smart. I thought it was useful. You know, at the time we were doing academic success centers, we were teaching math and English, and students had those models. You know, our numbers were starting to move. Of course, the state then came and said, now that you've done all that, everybody is college ready, so you don't have to do that anymore. Oh, thanks. There was collective action there. I saw that A&P, I saw some collective action that was happening there. I know there's a conversation, a faculty member with somebody in nursing. What's the stuff those students need to know in nursing? So I don't know why that got taken out. And there could be very, very good reasons. But I'll just say this. When I talk about doing collective action, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. If we get people to set a standard, and it doesn't have to be a pass-fail for the course or whatever, but something that makes it comparable. Dr. Deb Fontaine has been years begging us to keep going on assessment, and brought lots of flexibility to it. We're all over on the map in terms of who's doing high-quality assessment and who is checking the box. My assessment isn't right, so I'm in a glass house. But those are conversations to have as well. That's what we're supposed to be doing, looking at what matters and then get after it. Which brings me to the last one. Measure the things that are meaningful. Let's figure it out so we can find out where we are and then think about what can we do to progress things. But it's going to take that collective action. This conversation is going to continue during the year. I thank you for hearing me out. I want you to have a super fantastic year. Please hear me very clearly. I don't want to finger point. There's excellence everywhere. This is about getting to holistic, pervasive excellence, because that's what I think is going to move us in equity, and that's what I think is going to move us in outcomes. I appreciate all of your time. Thank you. I should have made a special slide for this, but I forgot to, but I didn't forget what I'm doing here. This slide up here includes one of those pockets of excellence that I think has the potential to really move the institution, and that's the Academy for Teaching and Learning. 4.5 years ago, I was part of some conversations when we were establishing the Faculty Academy for Teaching and Learning with Dr. Susan Slavitz. Here's what we knew. We knew that we were in a culture of, if you don't like the initiative, hang around because a new one will be around tomorrow, you know. So it's like, okay, we're going to do this. And people, old timers, remember CATL, right? Center for Advancement of Teaching and Learning. That had gone defunct, et cetera. But really believe in professional learning for faculty, and of course with organizational development, professional learning for everybody. But we academics really believed in that. And one of the things we need to do to show that commitment was to get somebody in there who faculty respected and who had the right stuff in terms of teaching. That was absolutely credible in terms of the credibility factor. Mark Bosey came on our radar. Some of you don't care the inside baseball, but I'll just let you know. The person who suggested Mark Bosey, by the way, is now retired, Vice President Al Little. One of the most creative insights that gentleman I thought had. And Mark, I'm so delighted that you took that on. So I was part of some conversations, and Mark leads our organizational development overall. It's part of conversations with Susan to say, hey, we got an adventure for you. Do you think you might be willing? And Susan, so gracious listening, but you could kind of see in her eyes like, maybe you could talk to somebody else. But she wouldn't quite say that. And we talked, and then she put it out there. She said, here's the thing. I do have, with all humility, I do have strengths I can bring to this, but when you're talking about that, there are some aspects of this that's not my bag, and if I was going to do it, I'd want to do it right. We said, promise you, we'll make it complementary, and we'll put it together. Susan took a chance on us, and is at it now for 4.5 years, and when we get to December, January, she's going to step away and go to the next part with her energy in terms of the FSCJ. And even though it's 6 months out, because this is a gathering of all academics, I could not let the day go by without recognizing you. So could I ask you to come up, Susan, real quick? Susan has worked super closely with Mark, of course, so I'm going to ask. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, yeah, come on up, Mark. Bad choreography. I'm going to ask Mark if he'll say a word or two as well, and then Susan will.
Pretty, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Hi, everybody. The waver in my voice is a little bit of sadness. I took over this role as a faculty member and Al Little is the one who actually pointed out that, hey, that faculty member would be good as this, possibly as professional development. And I figured, I'd stick around for a little bit and then go back to my faculty position as there was a 1 year holding period. And they said, and a few months went by and they said, we're going to develop a Center for Teaching and Learning, and we're going to come up with the faculty members, and faculty members are going to select those folks. Well, the faculty members met together and Susan was selected with Dr. Wall trying to grab her and get her on board. I knew that much, and then stopped, and then a few months later, Susan's like, hey, can we meet? Yeah, let's meet. And she had pages and pages and documents and emails out to everybody. Hey, we're going to do this, and then we're going to try that, and we're going to do this. And so you can tell there was 30 years of experience in pedagogy in that conversation, all coming out at one time. Like, hey, I have a lot to offer, and she does and did. I started jotting down, Dr. Wall told me a little earlier that he was doing this, and I started jotting down some of the things that Susan's done that hopefully you all recognize, and if you don't now, you will, is that her contributions to all of you as a faculty have been phenomenal. She has brought travel under faculty management. So faculty are the ones that manage the travel now. Thank you, Susan. The Active Learning Certificate was built because of Susan. The new Faculty Institute 1, the new Faculty Institute 2, the Advanced Faculty Institute, hundreds of faculty professional learning opportunities. And if she didn't know how to do it, if a faculty was having a problem with something or having an issue in her class, she would then find the people that could help those people and assist those folks. Effective online student engagement, thank you, Susan. Science and math conferences, thank you, Susan. Colloquium, thank you, Susan. Basically embedding teaching and learning into the culture of the FSCJ faculty. The Student Success Certificate. The FCOV courses that you are hopefully taking to get your $50 an hour. Thank you, Susan, for putting that list together. Beyond the professional contributions, Susan has also made plenty of personal contributions to me. For someone I did not know 5 years ago, I will tell you that Susan's maiden name is Bennett. And 6 months ago, I had a boy, and we named him Bennett. So if you can tell the kind of contribution that Susan's had on my life as
Sure.
not only professionally, but personally, it's true. You can deny it.
It is true.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. This was very nice of you and unexpected. But I have to say that all that list that Mark gave, it wasn't me. I mean, it was. Now, I do admit that during one of those first times early on, I did start sending out emails, and I think Mark was a day-long meetings, and he got out of the meetings, and I said, this is what I've done, and he goes, wait, let's talk. But truly, I want to thank Dr. Wall and Mark just for supporting faculty, because they have truly, if you don't know that, they have truly given us the ability to do those things. We've gone to John and we've said, we want to do travel. Can you find us money? And he made it happen. So thank you very much. And the other thing is, it truly is a team effort. I mean, the Academy is a group of faculty who are dedicated to working for you. And I tell you, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. I am not a detail person, so I know that, and I have somebody who I email and I say, look at this schedule of dates, And I have other people who can send out emails that don't have errors or mix-ups with names. So I want to just say that, thank you for giving us the opportunity, and thank you, Academy members, because you've really made it all possible. Thank you so much. This is very nice.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you. Whoops. So I mentioned the legislature being active. I've mentioned it's one of the things that gets us into action. And right now we'd like to give you an overview. So I'll ask Dr. Kathleen Seaswolds to join us up here. Thanks, Kathleen.
Good afternoon, colleagues, and thank you for this opportunity to share legislative updates. As both Dr. Woodward and Dr. Wall have indicated, it has certainly been a busy legislative cycle, particularly in terms of post-secondary educational changes. In fact, as we look on the next slide, if it's possible perhaps to transition. Oh, thank you, Dr. Wall. We'll find a tracking document that we've been using. Oh, that'd be great, Dr. Wall, thank you. In the senior academic leadership team. And indeed, we have been monitoring over 12 significant legislative changes for Florida College System Institution students. But before we delve into those changes, we want to pause for a moment to reflect on words of wisdom shared by Professor Alicia Bird, who teaches mathematics here at FSCJ. Professor Bird was in the midst of attending some AQ training, and she was so excited about what she was learning from Dr. Thomas Angelo that she shared an email with us. And Dr. Angelo reminded us that teachers often live in courses, and rightly so, especially those about which they feel passionate. We think about our math faculty and the passion that they feel when teaching MAT 1033 intermediate algebra, MAC 1105 college algebra, or STA 2023 elementary statistics. And yet, students, Angelo advises, live in the curriculum. They live in programs. In fact, the typical student pursuing an associate's degree will take about 20 or more courses to earn it. And so they're not only taking mathematics, as you well know, they're taking communication, humanities, social and behavioral sciences, and natural sciences. And if our students are in career and technical education programs, then of course they're taking numerous courses in that area of specialization. And hence, Angelo compels us to look not just at courses, but at the curriculum, to live there with our students. It is through that lens then that I invite you to examine the 2021 academic affairs related legislative activities with us. If we may transition to the next slide, please. Here we'll find the most imminent piece of legislation currently confronting us, and that is civic literacy competency as evidenced in Senate Bill 1108. Colleagues, for both our associate in arts and baccalaureate students, they will, effective this fall term, need to meet their civic literacy graduation requirement by both passing a civic literacy course and at FSCJ, that is POS 2041, American Federal Government, or AMH 2020, U.S. History from 1877 to the present. And they must also pass a civic literacy assessment. That assessment, for the vast majority of our students, will be the Florida Civic Literacy Examination, under development now by an entity called Cambium Assessment. As we transition to the next slide, you'll see a disaggregated table so that we can help communicate with faculty, academic administrators, advisors, and ultimately students as well about the trajectory of this graduation requirement, because it becomes quite nuanced as we move from 2018 to present and prepare for 21-22 academic year starting this Monday. In addition to the noted requirement for our AA and baccalaureate students, you'll see that effective in the 22-23 academic year, our AS degree seeking students will also need to fulfill the civic literacy competency. So indeed, when we look through the student lens, we see significant changes upon us. And as we transition to the next slide, we begin to track a piece of legislation embedded in House Bill 1507. That particular bill is under the auspices of workforce-related educational programs and has multiple components, only some of which will we highlight today. First, and key among them because of the curricular impact, will be Associate in Science general education changes. Colleagues, as you can see from viewing this screen, in the 22-23 academic year, all of our AS and AAS degree-seeking students will need to complete general education in all 5 areas. And the key therein is that the general education will need to include, as designated in statute, state general education core courses. Now, the good news is that in working with Dr. Litt and the BCTE team, we've been conducting an impact analysis, and we have a fairly good sense of where we are in terms of this particular piece of legislation. And with all things curricular, wherever there's a challenge, there is also a solution. So we remain optimistic through what will promise to be a busy curriculum year, that we will be able to be ready for the implementation of this law come this time next year. And colleagues, as we transition to the next slide, you see as well a piece on career readiness, digital credentialing. This is important because as another subcomponent of House Bill 1507, our AS degree-seeking students will need to be able to earn a digital credential. Here again, we're so thankful for the collective work of our college, of the work that Dr. Bosey, Dr. Ertenberg, Dr. Huss, and others have done to bring Badger, digital badging, to our institution as a mechanism for positioning us to meet this particular piece of legislation, wherein students in AS degree programs will need to be able to complete gen ed courses that evidence career readiness. Again, we believe that the fabric is already woven into our general education curriculum as we think about such key competencies as critical thinking, communication, and quantitative reasoning, among others. On the next slide, we see again updates pertaining to House Bill 1507, specifically in terms of a money-back guarantee. And this guarantee for 3 of our selected BCTE programs will afford to students who qualify, details forthcoming from the FLDOE, a money-back guarantee if they have not secured employment within 6 months of graduation and provided that they meet all of the requisite eligibility criteria. Colleagues, Dr. Litt and her team are working busily to address this particular component of House Bill 1507. Likewise, there's a second piece that you see noted on the slide pertaining to our performance funding metrics for workforce education programs. And you can see a ratio, about 1/3 of our funding will ultimately come from student job placement and the remaining from student job earnings. So to Dr. Wall's earlier point, in many ways we're seeing with the curricular changes, legislature acting on behalf of the Florida college system institutions to effect metric-based changes. As we segue forward, once again, we track now a couple pieces of legislation that pertain to Senate Bill 366. I had an opportunity earlier to visit with Department Chair Herzog, Dr. Stringer, Professor Kim, and Professor Meshmesh, among other math faculty. And colleagues, whether one teaches in math or other disciplines, if indeed we answer the imperative of Dr. Angelo, we shall look holistically at the curriculum in that this particular piece of legislation will necessitate that at a state level, 3 mathematical pathways are identified relative to students' math courses and programs of study, meta majors, and careers. We might reasonably predict at this juncture, based on math redesign work that has transpired over the past 5 years, that that 3-pronged pathway will entail a focus on algebra, quantitative reasoning, also known as math for liberal arts, and statistics, but more to come over the next 2 years as we track implementation to 23-24. And on the next slide, we'll see yet another key nuance of Senate Bill 366, in this case pertaining to alternative methods for assessing student readiness in computation and communication. And colleagues, here too, we have a little bit of leeway in the implementation. But in addition to common placement tests such as AccuPlacer, NextGen, and PERT, students in the future will be able to demonstrate college readiness through a variety of other mechanisms that may include, without being limited to, prior work experience, military experience, high school GPAs, among other areas. As we transition now to our final slide, we wish to share that we have indeed been tracking the legislation, and in Dr. Wall's words, preparing to tackle it collectively and collaboratively with faculty, advisors, academic administrators, and other colleagues. For each piece of curricularly related legislation, colleagues, please know that we will gladly furnish a frequently asked question document like the screen capture of the one you see featured here. And in doing so, we will seek to provide technical assistance to the faculty and administrators in whose areas the legislation most directly pertains. We welcome, especially in terms of our curriculum services team, to assist in any way that we can throughout this year and over the next few as we work together to implement the legislation. And indeed, we are reminded again of Dr. Angelo's words, may we live in the curriculum, both with and for our students. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Dr. Seesvolz. What causes change? What moves us to action? The legislature. So there it is. We got a lot to do, depending on what program you're in, but we will get it done. The other point of what moves us to change is that internal push, right? Responding to our students where they are and meeting them, and that's what we're going to close with today. You heard a little bit about guided pathways today. Dr. Deb Fontaine is going to give us just a little bit of a deeper look at guided pathways. Please pay attention to this work. Please connect to this work. Some of you already are connected. This is our biggest, best opportunity to really get that collective action that I talked about earlier. Dr. Fontaine?
To play with all the toys. No, I'm not on. Now I'm on. Okay, well, good to see everyone again. It's great to be back up, and it's great to hear some of the conversations coming together. As Dr. Wall pointed out earlier, he didn't know what Dr. Avendana was going to talk about, or Dr. Woodward exactly, but the themes of our leadership are coming together independently, and I think that's very important to recognize, especially given the year that we've had trying to put things together as far apart as we've been. So I think it says a lot about the institution and our faculty and administrators that support the work of our students and faculty. So today I wanted to, again, quickly go over just a quick overview of guided pathways, but really gear it towards a faculty audience in terms of talking about why we need to adopt this, what it is, and why we need to adopt the work. What does it mean for us, and what does it mean particularly for faculty? So we'll go ahead and get started quickly. One of the things I wanted to just share here at the start, when I first came to the institution a couple of years ago and started our Achieving the Dream work and getting started with conversations with our coaches and our teams about implementing guided pathways, Dr. Wall used this analogy that our coaches actually use when they go to other institutions. And he talks about, we built a long runway before we were getting ready to launch our guided pathways work. So I love that image and that analogy because we did. We've got a lot of foundational work and a lot of pieces that are already falling into place. Our call this year and moving forward is to continue that momentum and moving some of that work forward. As we launch, though, this spring, one of the things that we noted was that we have a lot of pockets of excellence. So that's, again, a phrase that you're going to hear. It was something I had picked up. And scalable. You're going to hear scalable from me all the time. So we've got these pockets of excellence, but they're not always moving in the same direction. And so to really make this work benefit our students and us in the most efficient ways and best ways, we really have to think about aligning that work and pulling everyone together. It doesn't mean that we can't do some of our own things. It doesn't mean that we don't have academic freedom. It doesn't mean that we can't try and pilot things on our own in our classes. But as an institution, in order to move some of the metrics that we need to move for the reason we need to for our students, we need to move in the same direction. So again, just a quick, what is guided pathways? It's a framework, folks. Other schools call it different things, but there are about 500 schools in the nation that are using this sort of framework, and if it is implemented well, it moves metrics, which means it helps our students be more successful. Part of the story, I know we get tired of hearing about numbers, but we have to have numbers to measure certain things, but what that measurement is our students' success. So this framework is built around 4 pillars, where we clarify the path, and Dr. Wall noted the work of Catherine Staysvolts and her teams in terms of building those roadmaps. That's a big part of that clarifying the path. Then helping students enter the path as they register, start their classes, keeping them on the path, our retention and persistence efforts, and then ensuring their learning. And so we'll focus a little more on this last pillar today because that really deals with faculty for the most part and the ensuring learning. I also wanted to point out lots of different logos up here. This is a research-based framework that we've built. All of these different organizations up here are organizations that we know, we recognize, and we respect in the academic fields. So we need to understand that this is not something that just came out of nowhere, just another initiative. It has been vetted, and there's lots of research out there. So what's different about guided pathways? Again, Dr. Wall, you mentioned there was a culture, and there has been a culture in many different institutions where if you just wait it out long enough, the initiative goes away and something else replaces it. And sometimes those folks get bitter because you've done the work and then it's not recognized and it's not implemented. This is not going to be one of those projects, and this is why it's important for us to think about it as an umbrella, as a framework, as something the institution adopts and we work together with. So it focuses on institutional transformation, not just the pockets of excellence, but the institution in general. It provides that overarching framework, brings together the evidence-based practices. It emphasizes interventions that work at scale. So if you're doing something that's just rock star in your classroom and you don't have equity gaps in your success rates, or you have fantastic persistence and retention rates, what are you doing? Share it out. Let's scale these strategies up. So having these conversations, whether they start in the hallways and go to disciplines and departments through Dr. Bosey's office, those are things that we need to do so that we're sharing out what works well for our institution. Research is great, and we can look at what other schools are doing, and we need to do that. But we also need to make sure that we contextualize it to FSCJ so it works for us and for our students. We create clear-intentioned, well-sequenced curriculum. We're working on that. We have another opportunity with our Gen Ed review this year, and then the state has also given us some other opportunities to make sure that we're doing that and creating that alignment, and that we're always keeping students at the center. As I said this morning at Convocation, student success is the core of what we do. Every decision, everything we do in our classrooms. Students are oops, I did that wrong. You've seen this already. Dr. Wall and I had similar ideas here. I just have one slide though, because I wanted to talk about this why again. Students are important, but the numbers reflect what our students are able to do. When we look at these numbers, and folks might get tired of seeing the numbers, this 200% completion rate, and you can see the disaggregation, how there's some disparity across different ethnicities and gender even. Who doesn't want their students to graduate at 150 or 200%? Nobody's going to raise their hand to that. So the numbers are important to us because we do want our students to get through efficiently and be successful when they leave us. The other why, and if we look at the pictures over here, they are our students. One of the things, I want to look at that real quick. You can't really read it on the graduate's hat there, but she says, "How lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard?" So that's what she felt, when she graduated, leaving the institution. This is our why. So in addition to the numbers being a reflection, it's those stories behind the numbers that are going to help us move forward. The what is a lot of the things. Some of it's what the state requires. Some of it's what we want to do as an institution. Some of it comes from SAC-COC, but there are ways that we are measured. So we use these sorts of metrics. We have, for some of our KPIs or state requirements, completion at 150 or 200% rate, and you can look at the rest of those because they are measurements that we need to use. But those measurements, again, even though they're numbers, they're representing our students as an aggregate, which is important to us. And the last one I really want to focus on is closing equity gaps. Dr. Wall pointed that out in his presentation as well. Those gaps persist over time. And sadly, in some areas, we see where there's considerable increase in some areas, the gaps actually widen. So we need to use that as a starting point and ask why. What is it that we can do differently that helps make sure those gaps close? The how is our guided pathways work. We've got the 4 pillars, and as we align our work in these different areas, it helps keep us organized. It helps us break down barriers so that we're talking between academics, student services, physical plant, we need facilities, IT, And we've tried to create the teams for our pillar work so that they are representative of the institution in different areas. And then finally, the tools. Lots of things that we're using to help with that work. And so as I say, a lot of what we're doing is already Guided Pathways branded, our EAB Navigate, building the roadmaps, the student architecture from Dr. Herlocker's team. Lots of different tools that we have to move this work forward. So the fourth pillar is to ensure that students are learning. And the foundations of that pillar relate specifically, I think, to faculty. Other areas as well, but it really is the area where students spend most of their time in their formal learning. The foundations for that pillar basically ask us to think about what are the program-specific learning outcomes that are aligned with workforce and transfer expectations. And the state's going to hold us even more accountable. So that opportunity to really review what are these outcomes right now. Incorporating project-based collaborative learning in our courses. Dr. Bowman mentioned that this morning. You know, how many of us love group work and things, especially when we're students? A lot of folks don't, but we know it's good for us, and it's good for our students. And quite honestly, it's close to the top of the list with our employers, that students need to be able to work, or workers by that time, need to be able to work collaboratively in their workspace. So incorporating more of this is important for us. Activities that require students to be engaged, that we can't let folks sit on that back row, sit in our Zoom classes or our Canvas classes and not engage at all, whether it's in chat, whether it's small groups, doing things that force our students to engage. Not only does it help in terms of their learning, but it helps them too in terms of building a cohort or a sense of community among themselves. And then faculty-led improvement of teaching practices. We obviously have that with our Academy for Teaching and Learning. We also have a small group of faculty that's participating in one of our ATD efforts called Building Capacity for Change. And so that we're going through this seminar-type coursework and looking at things that we might be able to do where our gaps are, faculty-led discussions about what we need to do maybe to address those gaps, and building a plan that will be faculty-led to help incorporate many of these different foundational ideas. So in the short term, though, what are some things that we already have tools here, we already have access to? You know, what can we do? How do we participate in guided pathways if we're not, you know, on a pillar team or we don't have time for that sort of engagement? There are things that we can all do that are scalable type discussions within our departments and disciplines. Redesigning our structures, policies, and attitudes that prevent students from progressing. Think about your syllabus. A group of faculty were motivated after attending the Achieving the Dream Equity in Teaching and Learning Institute this past May. Worked through the summer, and Dr. Wall sent out, it was called Humanizing the Syllabus, but I think the title of the document was different. But asked faculty to think about, you know, what does your syllabus say? What are the policies in there? Are they positive or are they punitive? What's that tone that comes out in your syllabus? Those are things that we can change now. We can do individually, and then as we move forward, maybe scale those things out. Creating an asset-based approach. We've heard lots of folks talk about that today. I started out in developmental English, so I understand when we're teaching, when students come to you and they're not what you anticipate, they're not what you expect, they don't have, you know, fill in the blank. That's who we have. So if we start thinking about what do our students bring, what do they have the ability to do, let's build on those sorts of skill sets and create that asset-based approach. And then look at different innovative, evidence-based pedagogical ideas that we've got. Culturally responsive practices. I know we have courses through the Academy in Teaching and Learning that we can take and we can build on scale so that we learn more each time we take some of those courses. We're looking at some redesign of gateway courses. MAC 1105C, I think if I got the letters right, we have redesigned and are piloting this fall, so kudos to Dr. Stringer's team in the math department. OER resources. We have quite a bit going on. In fact, our OER work was cited in the ATD's Teaching and Learning Toolkit under Dr. Chakrabarty's area. So some concrete things we can do, certainly not a finite list, but things that we need to start thinking about in terms of working with our students so that we are helping them and supporting them all the way through their process, their classroom process, or classroom activities. But it's not all about what faculty need to do. We hear that a lot. When you're in the classroom, I've been faculty too. It's not just what you need to do, it's what the institution also needs to do to help support faculty. So we've got to think about making sure that we're providing data to identify those gaps. You have to know where you are, you have to know where you're starting. So looking at that information, looking at the work that we do through our data summits, the student success reports, look at that information, and that helps us know where we need to go. Create faculty pathways for continuous improvement. We have lots of certificates and programs in our Academy for Teaching and Learning, but maybe there's some others we're lacking. What is it you need that we need to help build so that we can support the work that you need to do? And then look for opportunities for faculty and staff to interact and collaborate. I know we don't always have a lot of time to do that, but we need to create some space and help faculty carve out that time so that they have the time to talk with each other, share ideas, and work on scaling approaches. And then just to close, I just want to remind folks, we have a lot going on. Guided Pathways, though, is kind of our umbrella that will help us focus that work. It'll help us determine priorities. It'll help us determine a scale of things and limit maybe some choices. There's lots of good things out there. I'm a look shiny thing person. I love to see different things happen, but we need to do a few things and we need to do them well and scale them up as we move along. So we've got our strategic planning coming on, our Guided Pathways. Florida Pathways Institute is a state-led initiative that supports Guided Pathways. We'll have our quality enhancement plan come online shortly because of our SAC-COC reaccreditation that's coming up. You all will be a part of those discussions. We have our student architecture, our work with Achieving the Dream, but all of this fits under Guided Pathways to help us make sure that the work that we choose to do aligns with what our vision of student success is. And if it doesn't align, then it's something we can parking lot until it's maybe another time to do it. So I want to thank you all for your time today. There's some information. We have information in a LibGuide and on the website. You can look there for other details. And I wish you the best of luck as you start classes come Monday. So thank you very much for this opportunity, Dr. Wall.
Thank you, Dr. Fontaine. I had an equity and inclusion GAF. You'll notice there's no interpreter here. One of the things we will do, have record this, we will have it captioned. So we'll work on taking care of that. I want to thank everybody who was able to join me up here today. I hope you have a sense of the framing of where we're hoping to go this year. There will be more to come on all these. I know it's a very busy time. You all, the last 18 months, have shown your adaptability, your resilience, your professionalism to the highest degree and beyond. It also demonstrates that we can pull off large-scale institutional change in a timely manner. And I want to ask everybody to do miracles. I want to ask us to work together collectively on the hard problems. The miracles will come from that. Thank you so very much for your time today. I wish you a great start to this semester. Take care. Thank you.